Welcome into the Everything's Coming Up Timberwolves podcast. I apologize. I'm working with a different computer tonight, so the intro was not working for me. But we are here anyway to talk Wolves, and I'm joined by Chris Emerson. Chris, how we doing?
Hey, we're over 500. It's the first time I think I've done a Everything's Coming Up over 500 podcast.
That's true. That's true. We've had stretches where we played a stretch of games over 500.
Yeah,
just
right.
An overall record. Isn't that crazy though? We've been doing this for like a year and a half, and we have been over 500 the entire time. That just shows Wolves fan in a nutshell. But we like where we are. And off screen right now, but Jared Good. We're also joined by Jared. Jared, how we doing?
You live, Jared? I see something there.
We're doing great, baby. 7 out of the last 8. Get your towels out. Get your afros out, baby.
Is that a towel?
I had a little intro music for tonight, but technical difficulties on my end too, so I couldn't play the NBC sports theme to the playoffs that I wanted to, because that's where we're gonna be heading. I'm wearing this afro all night. I got good vibes only. We're killing it. I got nothing to complain about.
I love it. You look like Khabib.
I love it. I love it. Well, you said there was going to be a surprise for the opening, and we got a surprise. So I'm definitely surprised.
Wasn't as good as I wanted it to be, but hey, it still worked.
It's a makeshift episode. It wasn't as good. I didn't get the intro in. That was my fault. But we're here now, and we're talking Wolves, and so I guess let's start with this. I mean, what have we seen out of the Wolves this week? I mean, just some bad game against Charlotte, but other than that, there's a lot to talk about. D'Lo goes unconscious. I did not. Let me start with this. Let me start with this. We're starting to win games that we used to not win. Like I did not think that we had a chance. Like once the Sixers went up 3 in overtime, I thought it was over. I did not think we were going to come back from that. So what's been the difference, Chris? How have we been able to win some of these games that we used to not be able to?
We're doing it all just on defense, just on system and defense, because we're winning games versus good to great opponents, and we're not having all of our guys play well. Like, we're winning games versus good opponents when some of our big dogs are coming up, empty or quiet for 3 quarters and stuff like that. So it's defense, it's pressure, it's nonstop ball pressure, and turning them over and just getting easy buckets. It's been beautiful to watch. Just hustle.
Yeah, it has been. I think when you talk hustle, you got to go down to some of the scrappy guys like Jared Vanderbilt. I know he didn't play last night, but he's been playing unbelievably. Like he's been all over. He's honestly he's a difference maker out there, and I don't think a lot of teams have someone like him who can just be disruptive. I've said it once. I've said it all the time. If your kid goes and asks you who should I play like, you tell him Jared Vanderbilt, because he's the guy who's scrappy. He's all over the court. Jared, what have you seen out of the Wolves? Like, why have they been able to be so successful recently?
Well, I kind of want to piggyback off of what you were saying, Gabe.
Sure, go ahead.
We're starting to win games that we used to lose. Now, yesterday when I saw that Jaden McDaniels and Vando were both out of the game, I told myself in my head, I said, Sabonis is going to eat us alive. Like, we are going to get destroyed by Sabonis. And he did destroy us, but it wasn't enough. We found a way to win that game. I think he had I don't even remember what it was, but I know he had 25 rebounds, 7 assists, and 15 points.
Triple-double.
Yeah, or it was even better than that. So, when I was looking at that game, and I kind of talked about this last time we spoke, is we're going to struggle with bigs that can go 4 out, 1 in, which is basically kind of what they did with Turner also not playing in that game. And ironically, outside of that one big guy, nobody else really beat us down. We found ways to get stops. Okogie had a couple really nice defensive plays in the clutch. That block at the end was unbelievable. I mean, I remember Jim Pete saying, he had no chance at that ball and found a way to like get in front of him and get that, which was, kind of incredible. And we've kind of spoke about how good the defense has been lately and how it's kind of carried the offense. Offensively, I still think we're kind of streaky, to be honest. I think we're still shooting around 40-some%, which isn't great. We talked about that last time, but when you get some guys hustling like we got with like I know Chris said last time, you get Vando on the floor 6 times, then Okogie's going to get on the floor 3 times just to say, hey, I respect what you're doing. And it's kind of working out really nice for us defensively, which is something that I never thought I'd say for more than a week in a row, anyways.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So the Timberwolves, we are like you're saying, just things are looking up with this squad. What I'm starting to notice is we're finally getting that prototype big 3, right? Like we're finally getting like I think the prototype to being victorious in a lot of games is Cat having like 20, 25, Ant accounting for, I don't know. I mean, some games he can go 40, but going 20, 25, and then D'Lo right around 19 to 20. And I feel like that's kind of the prototype. Like if you can get at least 60 points out of your big 3, I feel like that's a pretty good start going forward. And we got to talk about D'Lo right now because his performance against the 76ers was amazing to watch. I mean, he went punch for punch with Joel Embiid, which, I mean, Joel Embiid, he looked great. And yes, he got a bunch of calls and stuff like that, but he went punch for punch with Joel Embiid really out of nowhere because he wasn't shooting well before earlier in the game. But he found a stride. Some of those shots he made were ridiculous. And talk about it a little, Chris. How was D'Lo? How was he able to be so dominant sometimes?
So the thing that I like the most about what I'm seeing with D'Lo specifically is you're saying now we have a big 3 is something I mentioned recently on here is he needs to find out how he fits. He's not going to be the I'm going for 40 from the opening tip type guy. Like we need him to be more like the Chris Paul type point guard where you're doing what you need to do. And if what you need to do is score, then do that. If what you need to do is just facilitate, then do that. And these last 3 or 4 games, maybe 2 or 3 specifically, he's really looked like he's got that figured out. And what was impressive in that Philly game is he needed to score. So that's what he needed to do. And they had Matisse Thybulle on him, which is, I think he's one of the top 3 or 4 probably perimeter defenders in the entire NBA. And he just couldn't be handled. D'Lo's got that slithery snake, long-armed release, herky-jerky thing that he can get his shot on anybody. You can be a small, intense defender. You can be a long, big defender. And he knows how to get his buckets. So he was just his bag. He was doing everything he needed. But what's impressed me the most, back to your big 3, is the fact that he has been playing the role of a point guard better than I've seen him play in a long time. And that's on both sides of the ball, calling out defense, playing high-level defense. Like you're talking about Timberwolves defense. You didn't think you'd say that. How about D'Lo's defense? I mean, he's been unbelievable.
Yeah, he has. I mean, he had that. I mean, he's. Did you guys see the thing where it was basically D'Lo and he against Indiana? He was basically saying what Indiana was going to do before they were even.
Yeah, I guess he was calling out the plays like every single play before they ran it. He knew exactly what was happening. He is really stepped his game up. He had a quote. He had a quote about that just recently. He said they're talking about him and his defense, and he said he watches a lot of basketball, and he saw in the playoffs that what happens is they'll find the worst defender on the other team, and they'll bring that guy up in a pick and roll and switch him on the ball handle and then just attack him every time. And D'Lo said, if you want to do that with me, bring it. I'm ready. Like, I think you're going to get more than you're ready for. He's like, I think I can handle it, So he knew that defense was his problem, and he's completely turned it around. He's he's a solid to good defender right now, which is an amazing step for the Timberwolves.
Mm-hmm. And not only on defense, but he's also. I mean, he had what, like 11 assists last night. I mean, that part of his game
Right.
started.
Oh no, on offense he's amazing. He's constantly amazing. But he went from league worst defender to maybe upper middle half. Like I'll take that.
I think another thing that's important when talking about the Philly game is that was all done without Cat. I mean, that was like I'm going to be the it guy and Willis to this win, which is exactly what he did. I mean, he made absolutely everything. And then some, like he was just incredible in that game. And it was really nice to see him step up when he needed to, like you guys were saying, with Cat being out. Well, another thing that I wanted to just touch on real quick before we move on to the next subject is Anthony Edwards yesterday, again, was kind of struggling to start anyways. Well, when I picked up the game, he was kind of struggling in the second quarter. And his offense came through his defense, which is another thing that, like, when you think about this team, it's not something that you expect to see. But I think he had like 2 steals, 2 blocks. He had an alley-oop to Cat, and then it was a jam show for like 4 straight possessions. Like, it's just incredible what this young kid is doing. And I love to see that it starts on the defensive end because, man, he's something special. If you haven't got a chance to watch Anthony Edwards for 48 minutes, I mean, I highly suggest that you do.
And to what you just said there, watch him for 48 minutes. Take some possessions and just watch him. His defense is, I mean, off the ball defense, he's got his guy locked up. They swing the ball to his guy. He gets over every screen. He gets through them all. He gets back in front of his guy. He is working hard on defense every play. You can see that he's looking for that pass so he can jump the pass. Like, he's locked in.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he is. He's got to be one of the most particularly exciting second-year players in the entire league, if not most exciting player to watch in the entire league. So we've been kind of positive so far, but one thing that the Timberwolves have had an issue with, and I'm going to talk about one person in particular now, is Karl Anthony Towns and fouls. Now, you could say he doesn't get the calls, but it always seems like, particularly recently, I mean, he's fouled out of the last 2 games. So, I mean, that definitely says something. So, what do you think it is, Jared? First, I guess, do you think he complains too much? And 2, how does he avoid maybe not fouling, but kind of some of the dumb fouls? Like, I think Jim Pete was saying on one of them, he's just not aware of what his other hand is doing. Like, he just doesn't know, and then he gets confused by that, and he gets called for a foul. But how does Cad do that? What do you think?
It's interesting that you brought up that quote from Jim Pete because I remember watching that game yesterday and hearing those exact same words, and I was thinking, he's kind of right. But I almost feel like Cat, like, the refs are in his head, like, bad. Like, even when he's getting foul calls, like, he's always got that goofy double-eyed look towards the ceiling, like, what I do now. He's always got that, like, I'm this innocent guy, even though he definitely commits a few fouls in the game. But I worry about it big time because he is definitely being bothered by it. And I think that if he doesn't get his kind of flamboyant, like, I'm this villain of the NBA kind of like attitude to go away, I think it's going to cost us eventually. It's a couple specific times. I know in the Suns game it happened, and it happened in another game recently. I can't remember which game it was, but he picks up a late foul. It's like his 5th. And, he's complaining to the refs and, Target Center's booing him. And then he's pumping up the crowd and he's doing all this and that. And I'm like, dude, one of these refs is going to toss your ass for that. Like, you need to just calm down, take your foul, sit on the bench when it's your turn to sit on the bench because you committed too many fouls, and just let it go. And I know that he did that really well with Ryan Saunders, but he kind of seems to, like, be going back to his old ways of, like, just complaining about everything. And I hope he gets it under control soon because I do worry that he's going to get tossed soon, just from what I've seen.
Yeah. Chris, what do you think? Do you think Cat complains too much, or do you think he's getting fouled and he has a point, or do you think it just depends on the
I
situation?
mean, yes, he's definitely not getting foul calls, but we're also a terrible team. We've been historically bad and we're young. So right there, you're not going to get a lot of foul calls, especially if you're on a bad team. Um, Two, he's a big guy. Big guys get fouled a lot and you don't get called. The only problem is when you're like a famous big guy or a star big guy, which he wants to be, but he's not yet. And a lot of that's because of the team's winning, hasn't been a winner. But big guys, sometimes you can get a lot of easy points, and he doesn't get those. He definitely doesn't get his easy buckets, like the 25, 28 free throws that Embiid shot the other day, which was like 6 more than our entire team. But like you said about Ryan Saunders made it a point for the whole Timberwolves not to complain. And the moment that Finch came in, you could tell like it was obviously a point that Ryan made. Like it was drastic. And it stopped, and they started complaining the moment that Finch came in. And part of it is important. Part of it is important to work the referees, to get that respect, to earn their respect. So you will get those calls here and there. But working the referees is one thing, and completely crying like a little baby is another thing. And he looks like a crybaby bitch out there. It's really embarrassing. Many times we're playing 5-on-4 because he's laying there freaking out with his arms over his head on some big flop he took. It's ridiculous. And it needs to stop because it's actually affecting our team negatively during the game, just off defensive breakdowns because of his complaining. Helping.
I would add on to his complaining. I think he falls too much. Like I think
falls,
he
flops, all that stuff.
And not only does he fall, but it's an awkward fall. Like he looks
he's an awkward person. He moves awkwardly. So he's not super graceful. And the thing is he's number 1 and Jaden McDaniels is number 2, or maybe the other way around in fouls in the NBA. And I think we've got number 10 or 12 also, and like number 15. So we've got like 4 guys in the top, 20 in the NBA in fouls per game. That's unbelievable. Mm-hmm. And we're now known as a team that fouls a lot. Like that's the thing. Kind of like I don't know if you guys remember, but a while back when the Packers were really good, their defensive backs were known to be really good with their hands, is what they would say. These guys are really good with their hands. And what they were doing is they're holding people, 10 yards down the field. It was a penalty. But since the league looked at them as strong hands defenders, they got away with it. Same as how Memphis used to get away with it in the NBA. They would foul all the time, but their image was they were rugged and they were hard-nosed, so they would get away with fouls. I watched a Toronto game. Same things happening for them right now. They get away with tons of fouls. I was watching. It was unbelievable. But we're now known as a team that fouls a lot. And just having that reputation, the refs are going to be called, you're not going to get any benefits right now. So we have to go above and beyond to really change that narrative. And the way to start would be if your superstar big man stopped laying on the floor, kicking his legs after a foul that didn't really happen.
Yeah, I almost think like the Timberwolves, they had that stretch, and I know they had a small, for some reason they had like a guard on Towns, and he didn't like try to like go hard to the basket or anything. He just did a little jump hook over the top, and he made like every single one. Like, so I don't get why he doesn't do that more. Like, preserve yourself a little bit. It's a long season. Like, we don't need you falling every single time.
It's huge. I was going to mention that later on just how improved everything is. And that's just a step he's made because they've been defending him with smalls or smaller players. That's one of the best ways to beat him. And that's something he's done to adjust to that. But with the amount of offensive fouls that he gets, which is like historically high, him taking those shots is, stay away from offensive fouls. That's another huge win for him.
Also, I think now I know he's a great player. I think he needs to get rid of the ball a little faster. Like if he's either got to make a move or just put it back out to the guard and we got to rotate the ball, because he's still getting that thing where he gets doubled and then he tries to go behind the head or he tries to zip pass it or
When he
something.
did that over the head one that was picked off, I wanted to drive to your house or something. Like I was like, oh, Gabe is so mad right now. I was going to be on suicide watch.
And then, well, the thing was, I watched today. I watched like the top 10 plays of the night, and who I forget, was it Duarte who did that behind the back thing on Balmaro and then scored? That was in the top.
It was,
so I had to
it was the other guard. It was.
Was it
Brogdon?
that was Brogdon. I mean, he kills us anyway. But yeah. But
one more quick.
Yeah, no, he's a good player. He's a good player. Yeah, but yeah, it's just it ticks me off every single time because it's like a 2% success rate. It's literally like if that. And it's not like he's hidden. I mean, okay, 1 out of every 10, he'll do a cool little thing and he'll hit a cutter. But 9 out of 10, it's either going to be tipped out of bounds, or something like that. But I don't.
One more quick note just on the referees, where we're talking about working the referees a little bit and trying to get them to, kind of get a little bit more in our favor, because I feel like the Wolves have been officiated really, really hard, and I think you guys would agree with that. I feel like there's been just in every single game. I mean, I feel like there's been a lot of blown calls, whether they're for us or against us is irrelevant to me, but there's been a lot of missed ones. And, yesterday after, so we're talking about when I think it was after Cat picked up his 5th foul. It might have been before, but Duarte gets 2 technicals. He gets tossed. Then they come out of the timeout and Pacers coach, I forget his name.
Jim Carey?
Yeah, he gets 1. And I'm sitting here thinking, okay, that's 3 technical fouls. We went 2 for 3 on those 2 shots.
No, they gave somebody else 1 too. They gave 4 because they gave the coach and 1 other player when we came back.
Yeah, Beasley missed 1 out of 4. Yeah.
Yeah, we won by 2 points. I mean, when you look back, and I talked about this in the Suns game when we were getting teed up. Like we've had multiple games decided by technical fouls, which is kind of crazy. But
that is crazy.
Yeah, it is. And that's kind of what you're talking about, right? With Cat, like, what if it's a key game, like against like let's say we're the 8th seed, we're playing the 9th seed, and it comes down to a free throw. I mean, it can be as simple as that. So, I mean, Cat's definitely gotta watch it. So let's talk about some of the injuries going on. First of all, I don't know if you guys saw this. I think I mentioned it to you, but Anthony Edwards is questionable for tomorrow. With I think there's some flu going around. I don't know what's going on, but some flu is going through the Timberwolves locker room. So what did we think? Oh, go ahead.
I'm hoping they all didn't eat Anthony Edwards' aunt's same gumbo or something, because all 3 of them guys got the same thing, flu-like symptoms. I hope it's not food poisoning, or we might be screwed. They just all ate at the same table, I'm sure.
Yeah, we know it's not COVID. They were talking that it's not COVID, so that's the good thing. But yeah, so what have we thought? Or how are we going to bridge the gap with particularly what am I trying to say? At the point guard with Beverly. So first of all, how do we replace Beverly for the time being? And second of all, what have we thought of Balmaro's play so far with the limited time that we've had? And we'll start with you, Jared. What have you thought of Balmaro, and should someone like McKinley Wright get some playing time? And we also saw Jalen Noel a little bit.
Wait, who did you mention?
Some guy named McKinley.
Never heard of that guy.
I forgot his last name. But,
where did he play in high school again?
I'd love to tell you. Champlin Park High School. I actually worked on Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I actually work right across the street from his alma mater. So,
you were talking about Beverly and what we should do at the point guard or even the backup point guard position, because it's pretty clear that with Beverly out of the starting lineup, he's not going to play, obviously any of that role, but D'Lo is going to be just forced into the one more than he already was. I personally like Noel, even though he isn't getting as much run. I know he got run in the game where we got blown out and looked pretty good, in my opinion. I like Balmaro though. Is he super talented? I mean, I don't know if I could say that he's got the most talent in the world, but he's a guy that, like, when I watch him play, he kind of just like seems to be in the right spot. I'm not saying he's like a difference maker when he's in that spot, but like he looks like he's really easy to coach, you know, like he kind of knows where he's supposed to be, knows what he's supposed to do. Other than that, I mean, I don't know if I love him, or I just haven't seen enough of him to really make a distinctive decision on how much I like him. But I mean, if you can get a guy that can play, I mean, we're, like you said last podcast, we're really only looking for 8 to 12 minutes max,
Right.
out of these guys. I mean, we're not looking for a ton. We're playing our starters a ton. I think either or is fine with me, but I would still. I guess I would lean Balmaro if it's only 10 minutes. If we need something more than that, I'd like to see Noel. Like if someone were to get in foul trouble where we just need like 18 minutes, I'd rather see Noel. But in short stints, I'm happy with what Balmero's doing.
Mm-hmm. Chris, what do you think?
I'm all in on Balmaro. I'm all in on Balmaro being part of the rotation even when Beasley comes back. I'm in on Balmaro taking Prince's minutes, taking anything that Noel ever dreams to have, and anything that J-Mac wants should also be Balmero's. And not because he's amazing, it's just because he's not terrible, and all those other guys I mentioned have been terrible. Balmaro, I mean, I was watching the last game. He had like 6 rebounds. It felt like he was rebounding, like down in with the bigs. He's in there. He had a nice offensive rebound. Movement of the ball. The ball swings to him. Guess what he does? Swings it to an open guy right away. No hesitation. No stupid dribble like you're going to do something even though you know you're not. Swing the ball. Move it. I don't know how many times he'd give it to Cat, get the ball back. And then guess what? Feed Cat again in a better position. You know why you do that? Because he's a stud. Like simple things that Rubio would do, like feeding the big. Nice low feed to it. Like it was just like, oh yeah, that's what it looks like when you have somebody who knows how to play basketball.
It's almost like we might teach that overseas a little bit or something like that.
Right, exactly. Actually how to like feed a post player or where to be for a rebound or box out or, you know, like how to get through a screen. He's got all that stuff. I was talking to Gabe. My son's playing 3rd and 4th grade basketball. And it's like when you play a kid, when all of a sudden you see a kid on the other team that you're going against and you're like, oh, that kid knows what he's doing. It's like a whole different species of kid out there. Like he's 10 times better than everyone else just because he knows what he's doing. That's what Balmaro looks like to me. He just like, oh, that guy knows what he's doing. You know, I'm not worried about him doing something stupid. Whereas some of those other guys, man, they're just not very good.
Yeah. Particularly like when you mentioned Taurean Prince, whenever he shoots the ball, I have no confidence it's going in whatsoever.
No. Which is sad because he's been a good shooter, but it's just like at this point with him and some of these other guys, I've got to go with eye test currently. And currently, Tayshaun Prince shouldn't be getting any minutes, really. I mean, he's okay, but I mean, if you told me he was better than Jake Layman, I would ask you to explain yourself on why you think that. Like,
right.
And Layman's not going to see the court ever. Like, that's just. And I'm not saying Layman's great. I'm saying that's the same quality I'm seeing out of Prince.
This is kind of a hard question to ask, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Do we think that Layman is that bad? Like, is he really that bad, or is they're just not a spot for him? Like, I'm kind of confused because I feel like when he was in the lineup, he could. Yeah,
I don't see why guys like. I don't see why he couldn't be getting similar minutes to Prince every once in a while. It's not like Prince has earned them. Unless it's strictly in practice, Prince is amazing and Layman's nothing. Like it must be something like that because Layman's on a better contract. So like in theory, it'd be easier to move Prince for a big expiring to some other team. So like odds of him being on the team long term, Layman's probably even better for just this year. So you'd think you'd want him to get some reps, but I don't know. We definitely have some dead spots.
I think that I kind of agree with you on that. I would like to see Layman come in games where we're either up by 15 or down by 15, because I think one thing that surprised me about Layman when I actually got to like sit down and watch him is the dude's pretty damn athletic for a white guy that's supposed to be. That dude's got some athleticism.
He's one of the best athletes on the team.
Yeah, he's definitely got some bunnies in him. I'm kind of in the same spot as you. I mean, I've kind of seen enough out of Prince and J-Mac. Like, those are two guys that now we're playing Prince more out of a necessity than anything, in my opinion. But, if it ain't broke, don't fix this. We won 7 out of 8 games. I mean, I don't think we can really nitpick here. They beat the Suns, then we're I think we're like 9 out of the last 10. I mean, hard to argue that we need to make a whole lot of changes.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't it crazy that we almost beat the Suns and they're like the hottest team in the NBA?
I know. Yeah, we were literally this close to beating the Suns. I know because I was there. I was hanging on every note in that game. But yeah.
On second note here, we do have to take a short round of applause. Gabe finally saw a win. It took a long time.
That's true. That's true. I did get the victory, and against the Heat of all teams. So
you got to see one of the best.
Was huge. It was fun.
Best dunks.
So was it the Heat? Yeah, it was a great dunk. One thing I want to say, I don't know, was it the Heat game or it might have been Philly? I think it was Philly. Right before, so D'Lo hit a huge clutch shot, but right before that, I think to like seal the win, Naz Reid got a post up.
I knew you were going to mention this.
On Embiid and hit a beautiful little hook on him. Like,
yeah,
I'm talking minute and a half left in the game, down 1, post feed to Naz Reid, averaging 12 minutes a game. He backs up, MVP candidate, and drops the right shoulder or left shoulder hook on him and just kills it. Like, that kid can play.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, we know your thoughts on it, Chris, but I think every single time that we see him perform, he just performs. Like, he's just
even
a performer.
In the last game against the Pacers, he hit a huge 3-pointer. Massive.
He had 13 points in like 15 minutes. Like, he was like 6 or 7 or something. Like, oh yeah, might as well keep him out more.
Right.
He actually rolled his ankle in that game. It had me worried, but he ended up coming back because I was about to need an oxygen tank there because we're getting real thin for bigs.
Yeah.
If he goes down.
Also, just the fact that when Karl Anthony Towns came out, I mean, he was literally the only line of defense left, and he held his own. And like you said, posted up Joel Embiid and got a big bucket for us. Huge. Also, so the one thing I will say for Taurean Prince, that was a clutch layup.
He almost missed it.
What's that?
How confident were you when he was driving for that layup?
0.
0. Right. I think it was almost more of a mistake that it went in. No offense, Taurean Prince, but I'm just going by what I've seen this year. Like,
Prince is going to be in the chat roll just roasting us all week if he stumbles in.
I know.
Hey, Taurean Prince, if you want to come on the show, you are more than welcome.
Yeah, I'll still tell you that you're a bum, but.
Would he start for your son's 3rd and 4th grade team?
He would. He'd start at center. We need rebounding.
He'd be in the right spot.
Yeah, he would know who he's supposed to be defending, which is most of the battle.
That's true. So yeah. Just
one thing I want to say. Yeah. You brought it up earlier, and I talked about it when we were talking about last week. Are we a real team or not? Are we a real playoff team? And I said, I think the defense, I'm starting to believe that the defense is real. And now it's time to see if the offense is real. And I think since the Suns game, or maybe even if it's since the Lakers game, we're top 10 in offense and in defense. And what I saw out of Cat in in these last couple games was amazing. So whenever they defend Cat with like a center, Cat kills him. He's been going like, shooting 90%. I think he was 7 for 7 in the first half versus Embiid. His lost weight, he's just too fast for him. Like they can't guard him on the perimeter at all. So the only success they've been having is having small forwards or small power forwards defend him with speed and then have the big rotate over. That's what every team's been doing. And it's been bothering him. And it's been working great because while you're doubling all the time and you're bringing a 7-footer to double, like that's just hard to deal with. Well, what he did in Indianapolis or in the Indiana game was that 12-foot hook shot or that 12-foot like lean in little push shot. And he hit 8 of them. And if that's in his bag and he figures that out and that's in our flow of our offense, we are going to destroy teams because that's the only thing that's been killing us. If they guard Cat with a big, he's shooting like I said, like 90% versus bigs. So now if he found a way to counter that little guy thing with this little like 15-foot, because they can't defend it. He just turns it. All he has to do is make it at that point. There's no defense isn't an issue. If he can hit that, oh my gosh, like our offense just went up 2 notches. So if that's real, what he did, that flow of that offense is going to be beautiful.
Right. Yeah. And like you were saying, I love when Cat just keeps it simple, right? Like I can't stand when he like goes to the basket, does the offensive foul, but when he's just a simple post move. I mean that's all. That's kind of what Nas does, and it's super successful for him.
Nas isn't making Sports Center off his. Right. Well, he should though. He's dunking on people. Who am I kidding? Why isn't Nas on Sports Center more?
If there was a Dream Shake section from Sports Center. I think he would be number one because he should be. It's phenomenal.
Being on Sports Center, I don't know if this made it, but D'Lo crossed someone up in the paint the other day real bad, and I think it might have been T.J. McConnell, but man, boy, did he just put him in a freaking tornado! I was like,
D'Lo will do that every once in a while to you.
I was like, oh my god, this dude just put this guy in a tailspin.
So one thing I want to go back to is the atmosphere at Target Center, just going back to the Miami game. Like that Miami game, it felt like a playoff game. Like everyone was hanging on every single note. Target Center was rocking. I think there was some like 17,000 people there, which I know isn't a sellout, but it felt like one. But it was also college night, so that helps. I mean, you get all the college.
Should be college night every night.
I agree.
A-Rod, if you're listening, if college night every night is so obvious, or anything to get the crowd in there, like what are you doing? Anyway, sorry, had to vent a little bit about that.
No. I totally agree because like I
don't make money
on memories when I was at St. Cloud. I had a minivan, so we'd fill up the van and drive down the Target Center. It was fantastic.
That's awesome.
Would you rather charge $50 for one seat and fill it, or would you rather charge $5 100 seats and fill those? I mean, I don't know. Right. It seems like basic math to me.
Or $0. After halftime, you should be able to walk in for free. Anyone off the street. I want the second half of every Timberwolves game, fourth quarter, to be packed and loud. Like, what are we doing? You're not making money. Like, I just don't understand it. But that's for another podcast. I'm all for. I could go for hours about simple things that I just don't understand, and maybe I'm just not smart enough. It's very possible.
Yeah, no, but yeah, what I was mentioning is it. Like I said, it felt like a playoff atmosphere, and
that's awesome.
when we were starting to like pull away a little bit, every three was like a complete freak out by the fans. Like it felt amazing, and I know. And there's a lot of factors that go into that. It was the night before Thanksgiving, so a lot of people had work off. A lot of people are home for the holidays. A lot of college students are home, so they're
It's a
around the
huge
city.
game, though.
Gabe, I
What's
got a
that?
quick question for you.
Yeah.
How loud was that stadium when Anthony Edwards put Gabe Vincent in the bag, even though it was a foul? I'm just curious, like how loud was it in there?
Oh, it like the howl meter was going crazy.
Howl meter. Ugh. We were in the red.
By the way, fun fact: I up until a couple years ago, I don't know why I thought this. I thought that was real. Like I thought it was actually monitoring. So I'm like, "Come on, Dad, we got to get more noise."
You're not trying hard enough. We're at 80 decibels.
Yeah,
Who says
exactly.
it isn't?
But like I will say that dunk, even though it wasn't technically a dunk, right? Like it didn't count. The best thing, the best individual play, the best individual dunk I've ever seen live. Like that was insane. Like I lost my
it's gotta
mind.
be up there almost on anybody. That was a huge dunk.
We might have to change our logo.
Yeah.
No, I think. Okay, let's talk about this. Which one, in personal preference here? Which one did you think was better? The one that's our logo or that one?
Toronto.
You think because it was a big, probably?
Well, he just slingshotted on him, and like at the end, all the momentum was like going straight down, and it just like it's like he pile drive him to the earth. That's what I liked about that one.
I'm gonna say Toronto only because it counted. That's gonna be my cop out answer because I think they were both fantastic. But that is the biggest cop out answer ever. I think they were both absolutely incredible. Had that dunk counted, I mean, I would take the Miami one every single time. But he gets -5 because he got the charge call.
So
which I don't necessarily think was a charge.
There are two reasons that I'm gonna go with the Miami one. One, because I was there and I saw it in person. Two, because I actually didn't see the Toronto one live. I was not watching that game. So I heard about it later. So
dude, it was sickening. Like when it happened, it was one of those where you're just like,
yeah. And I feel like that's the beauty of Anthony Edwards. He has those any time. Like we were talking about, first, second quarter, last game, he's not doing much, and then boom, out of nowhere, he's dunking all over the place, and he's getting steals.
Misses so many layups.
He does, and he's got to get better at that. Do you think it's because he's just trying to draw fouls, or do you think he's just out of control?
I think he's out of control.
I think he's like moves so fast.
Yeah,
I think that's.
I think he's still. I mean, he's 20 years old. I think he's still not in complete control, like of his own power, of his own agility, of his own everything. Like, he'll be fine. I mean, I remember his rookie year, he was missing every layup, and he was missing multiple dunks a week, like big, like highlight dunks, missing, just blowing them. So like, he's got that figured out. He still seems like he jumps wrong on a lot of them. Like, it seems like he gets too close to the rim sometimes, and he has to like jump almost backward. Like he seems like he's taking off strangely, but whatever, he's doing just fine.
Yeah, I honestly, after seeing Anthony Edwards at the beginning of last season and now, it's like a completely different person. He's completely maybe the person isn't different, like the personality, but I think the confidence has gone up. I think the playmaking ability has gone up. His 3-point shooting has gone up for sure. Like remember that rookie against the Spurs who like didn't know what to do? Do you remember at the end of the game where he like thought we needed a 3 and so he like traveled or fumbled the ball away? Remember that rookie?
He went for the dunk and he missed it.
Oh yeah,
to come full circle. Yeah, instead of shooting the 3, I think, or anyways, yeah, it's something like that.
But I feel like that. I feel like that Anthony Edwards is ancient history now. Like he's just so confident. He knows who he is. And just I feel like to put a little bow on it with what I'm saying, I feel like this whole team is just so much more confident now. And I think Beverly's brought a lot of that. Maybe too confident, like you're saying, telling the crowd to pump up after after yelling "ref, you suck" is maybe a little too much, but it's a fun. It's finally fun to go to Target Center. Is what I'm saying. Like it's a fun atmosphere
winning
now.
helps. Winning helps with Ant's confidence. Helps with the whole team.
I remember one of the first podcasts we had with Anthony Edwards. Maybe it was maybe the third or fourth, probably. We were talking about as Anthony Edwards is a shot selection terrible, like he's shooting all these threes and he's not doing this right. He's shooting like a terrible percentage. And I remember saying that it's an NBA skill to get that many shots up. Like it's an ability to be able to get those many shots up, and that the shot looks good. It's just not falling. Like it's not a matter of him not getting it, getting good lift or getting open. It's just they're not falling. And now they're just falling. But what you said assists and stuff. What's really been impressive with our big three, which is why I think we can win without each guy going for 30, is if they're not going off, each one of those guys now is contributing in multiple ways. They're all playing defense. D'Lo and Edwards specifically are getting steals and starting fast breaks. Edwards is rebounding like a monster. I mean, it's not uncommon for him to have 7-8 rebounds. Now you said, D'Lo with his 11 assists or whatever he had, like the way that our stars are doing things outside of the scoring column is a change in philosophy and a change in attitude on this team that I think is getting overlooked. And it just shows that we are a professional team now. Like we are playing like a professional team. And I think a lot of that can be going back to Beverly. It can go back to Finch. I think if anybody, whoever wants to say that it was a bad idea to hire Finch, I'm more than welcome to invite you on here and we can have a debate about that, because this man is looking like he's the real deal. I mean, when you get a team that's been averaging 27th in the NBA in defense for the last 7 years, make maybe one or two Beverly's a defensive player, but by no means is he like playing 40 minutes a game and anchoring our defense.
Right. He's not Kawhi or something like that. Right.
And to get the whole team playing the way they're doing right now, like Chris Finch needs to, he should be up for Coach of the Year consideration just from that alone.
We gave up 98 points without three of our best four defenders. Without Vandal, without J-Mac, without Beverly. 98 points in the modern NBA, that's a good defense.
Unbelievable.
So there's something there, and it has to be coaching.
And I think before we wrap this up, we got to give a shout out to Josh Okogie, because he stepped up in a big spot, like you said, with those two out. And he had some huge plays down the stretch. I feel like we have three guys. I feel like Jaden to a less extent, but at least two guys that are just. They're so defensive minded and they're flying all over the court. And the effort is there at least.
I just wish Okogie and Vanderbilt could do something on offense. Right. Anything. I'll take anything. Anything. I mean, the biggest improvement for Vanderbilt this entire season is his free throw percentage. I mean, last year he was like, 40% or something, and he's like 85%. Right. It looks smooth. So that gives me hope that he can at least be a corner 3-point shooter, be playing the dunker spot and fade out to the corner or something. But Okogie, when the ball swings to him and he's like forced to shoot a wide open three, there's nothing more than I hate. I want him to just brick it so hard we have a shot at an offensive rebound, which was one of the best plays of the game last night.
Yeah,
was his brick 3-pointer that was so hard it flew out almost to the 3-point line. And then D'Lo got it over to Beasley, who is an NBA player who can shoot, and hit that corner three.
Right.
If Okogie could give us anything,
it
would be huge. But
just an occasional.
Go ahead. Go ahead. No, it's all you.
Okay. Like you were saying, just an occasional like open three, like for example that last night, just a wide open three that you can hit. I don't even see, like, I watch him in warm-ups sometimes when I'm there. He doesn't even hit him in warm-ups.
Maybe he should dribble it up. Like maybe he should stop shooting threes, dribble up and pull up for an 18-footer or a 17-footer. Like whatever you're the most comfortable with, only do that, and I'm okay with it. It's just that's going to be a problem for us at some point. Like
personally, that's what I do in my Saturday morning league. I don't take the three. I take a couple dribbles, take a little jumper, and goes in
boom,
half the time. So
beautiful, 50%. That's
Yeah.
that's nothing wrong with that.
Absolutely,
Better than the
Jared. You
whole
had something?
Timberwolves team is shooting.
Right.
No, before we look at the week moving forward, we always do that to kind of close things out. I want to ask you guys. I know the last time we talked, we had our big 3 games against LaMelo, Embiid, and Jimmy Butler, and there was a guy located in the middle of this podcast that said, "I'd be pretty ecstatic if we got 1. I'd be over the moon if we got 2." So how are you feeling after those
I'm
3?
over the moon, man. I'm over the moon, especially with the 2 that we got, to be honest. We got the 2 better teams, and we got the 2 teams that are like professional NBA teams that are playoff caliber teams that each one of those teams, there was resentment against the Timberwolves. So there was some more attitude from Embiid had attitude towards it for sure. Butler did. And we beat them both. And we beat them both kind of I mean, Philly got so many free throws. They got so many extra breaks, and we still beat them. Like, that's massive. That's massive for the Timberwolves to feel that. Like, to make you feel like you really belong. Like that stretch is like, okay, we really belong. Like there's times in your life when you kind of feel like you're in imposter syndrome, like you're really not, like, should I really be here? Should I be doing this or that? But then you do something, or you're like, oh wait, I am real. Like that's what that was to me. Like, this team is a playoff team. If we make it or not, that's injuries, that's other things. But right now, we're a legit 5-6 seed quality player team. That's huge.
And even looking at that Charlotte game, now I know we lost by quite a bit. The game was never really that close, but in that loss, and this is kind of like the Clippers game where they shot 60% from the field and just whooped us. When teams make shots, you're going to lose. Charlotte hit a franchise record against us. I believe it was 27 3-pointers. You can't win when that happens. Like, that's the NBA. Like, if a team gets hot, no matter how good you are, I don't care if you're, the Warriors. If we shoot 60% against the Warriors, we're going to smoke them, Like,
yeah.
Sometimes teams get lose, but like these last 10 games have been unreal.
Yeah.
And I think I heard him mentioning, I think it was D'Lo who said this. They started to it was Kat. It was Kat at the end of the game with what's her name, Katie Storm or whatever. By the way, I don't think she asked the best questions, to be honest with you, but that's
I usually turn it off about right there.
Oh,
I'm not a big fan of Marnie doing the pregame, to be honest, and I'm a big Marnie guy, but she just seems a little just a new role. I guess maybe I'm just not used to it yet.
Fun fact: I actually did a couple shows and went to school with Katie Storm, so that's a little fun fact.
And you're bad mouthing her?
No. Hey,
you called her horrible?
No, she's okay. She's fine. She's
literally on the biggest Timberwolves podcast on YouTube. You said that.
I hope I don't get flack for that. She's good. She's good at what she does. But actually, her name before was Emmer, so she's actually Tom Emmer's kid. Do you know who Tom Emmer is?
I do know who Tom Emmer is.
Yeah. So was he the governor, senator, or something?
Now I know how she got the gig. That's cool. Yeah. So what were you saying about Kat?
Yeah, he was mentioning, like, we came out of the gates against Indiana, and we kind of had the
Charlotte vibes.
Yeah, the Charlotte vibes. So I wonder if that's going to be a thing going forward, like where they just saw that is like that's a bad way to start, and then they recognize it, and
like our energy's bad. Our energy's bad.
Right.
That's what they said. That's what D'Lo did. They said in the first quarter, in D'Lo's first sub out, he's like, Charlotte vibes, guys. Charlotte vibes. These are Charlotte vibes. What are we going to do about it? What are we going to do about it? We might not have a fearless leader type guy on this team, but I think we've got about 4 guys that are maybe second tier leaders. And I think that might work better for this team than having one dog be the General Patton kind of guy. So
Right, then having like a Jimmy Butler.
D'Lo's definitely one of those guys that people respect him when he talks because maybe he's not always talking.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So let's look forward to this week. It's going to be a fun week. We're playing a lot of these we're on this Eastern Conference kind of binge right now. So we got the Wizards tomorrow. Make sure to set your DVRs or get ready early because it's a 6 o'clock start as we are on the East Coast. You got to remember that 6 o'clock start. And then 6:30 start on Friday. You got the Brooklyn Nets. I mean, that's always a fun one. That could go either way. I think one of our biggest wins last year was against Brooklyn, if I remember.
I know Alex Pickus isn't in the chat no more, but boy, I'm going to be in his ear if we beat them on Friday because he's a Nets guy.
Oh, okay. So that's why he posted that. Okay, I get it. And then Monday we got the Atlanta Hawks. They are definitely on the up and up. I think they've won, or at least at one point they won 6 in a row. Trae Young starting to look like Trae Young. So in a fun week, Eastern Conference week. What are we looking for out of the Wolves this week, Chris?
Well, Atlanta's 7-3, but you're going to be at that game, right?
I am, yes.
So you are now our lucky charm, we've decided.
There you go.
So that's a win.
streak.
So what I'm really looking forward to is I think the Wizards are going to be fun because they've got just a lot of guys to throw at us. They've got a very deep team. They'll be fun to watch just as see if we'll let ourselves down knowing that Brooklyn's there. But what I really want to see is Anthony Edwards get matched up on Durant because pre-draft, every time he was asked, which they're always asked for the top guys, who are you most excited to go up against? His answer was always Kevin Durant. So he's been most excited to defend Kevin Durant. So it's going to be exciting to see that play out. And just for him, like when Naz Reid posted Melo and got a bucket on Melo in one game, and then Melo came down and got a bucket on him. I love that because Naz Reid growing up in New York had to love Melo. Like the timing of it, just fits. So to see Durant and that'll be fun.
Yep. So Alex Pickus has a question for us. Who scores more points, Harden or Ant? Call it in the air. What do you think?
I know that's a flip. I would say
I'd say Harden's the safe pick.
Looks like we just lost Chris, but that's all right.
He said that question was so bad that I'm out of here.
Yeah,
I think
Jared. Maybe we can get him back. But Jared, what are you looking for out of the Wolves this week?
Out of the Wolves this week, I really want us to see us win that Wizards game. The Wizards started out as I think after like 11 games, they were like 8-3, and they were the 1 seed in the East. They've come back down to life. They've lost 5 out of the last 8 games. I think that they're kind of like being who they are now, not trying to be this pretender 1 seed in the East. But outside of that, I think there's some wins to be had. The Atlanta Hawks game scares me the most just because we struggle with bigs so much. I mentioned it in previous podcasts, guys like Capella. I mean, if we can keep him off the boards, I think we can beat him. But I think that game's going to be a struggle fest for us. I also think that, right now with how good we're playing, I look at the schedule and I say win, 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 because, we've just been playing so well. So, I'd be happy to go 2-2 this week. The schedule does get a little tougher.
It does, and we'll see how we do on this Western Conference or Eastern Conference swing, which is going pretty well so far. But this is the Everything's Coming Up Timberwolves podcast. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe on YouTube and follow us on Spotify so you never miss an episode. And as always, go Wolves.
That's right.